Chapter, first section of this chapter, formulas and variables. So there's lots of situations in life where you're going to run into things where there's two variables and you're trying to figure out what the relationship between those two variables are. For example, if you're ever getting paid for something, like the pay per hour, so it's a relationship between how much you get paid and how many hours you work, those types of things. Or gas, how much it costs per gallon of gas. Two different variables. So we're going to look at these. Yes. All right. So we're going to look at how do we fill in data tables with numbers. And it's not just random. So we're going to put the numbers in for X. And I think I'm going to go a different color so you can see it better. X, which is one of our variables, which is our independent, we call that. Have you learned that in science yet?
Yes. In English.
Independent variable. And find Y, which would be our dependent variable. So if you have one, it depends on the other one. Okay? The average, so here's an example here. The average weight, which is represented as W, of a married male is 170 pounds plus 2 pounds for every T, which is how many years he's been married. Okay? So every year the guy's married, he gains 2 pounds because his wife's cooking for him now, and he's not just eating, random stuff. He's eating like wholesome meals. So you've got two sets of data here. And we have to write an equation for that. So our weight, which is our W, we're trying to figure that out, is the starting weight of 170 plus 2 pounds for every year, which is going to be T for time. Okay, so we're taking our story problem, we're turning it into an equation. So let's make our top one T here and our bottom one W. Before we go any further, my first point there at the top was put in X and find Y. But I use T and W. So which one would be independent, which one's dependent? What do you think, Elise?
The T would be the independent and the W the dependent.
Yeah. And whenever you look at a chart or a data table like this, the rule of thumb, so 99.9% of the time, if I make it or if the book makes it, this is true 100% of the time, the top row is your independent, your X values, and the bottom row is your dependent, your Y values. So if you make them, keep your X's on top and your Y's on bottom. It doesn't matter if you call them T's and W's, just independent on top, dependent on bottom. So now we'll put some things in there. If he's been married 0 years, what's his weight going to be?
170.
170, right? Because he hasn't, right? You're going to put this 0 comes in for the T over here. Right? 2 times 0 is 0, so 170 plus 0 is 170. And then he's married 1 year. So what do you put in for T now?
172.
And he's going to be 172. So T times 1 is, 2 times T is 2 plus 170, so 172. 5 years.
182.
So it's going to be 170 plus 2 times my time, which is 5, right? So 2 times 5 is 10,
So
plus 170,
yeah, so 180.
180. You following that math that I did there?
But you had. It's 180. Why would it be 180? Yeah.
Because it's 5 years and it's 2 pounds every year. You're not taking based on the last time you measured it. It's based on the beginning weight.
So 5 years times 2 for each year would be 10. And then 172. No, plus 1.
So it's plus 170. So my formula's got 170 in it. It's got 170 here.
Big dude.
He starts at 170 pounds plus 2 times the time. So 2 times 5 is 10 plus 170 gives me my 180. So what's my next one gonna, my next problem gonna be? 170 plus 2 times 10. So we're gonna have 170 plus 20. So I heard 190.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have 170 plus 2 times 25. So after 25 years, how much is he going to weigh?
Lot.
So
230.
50 more pounds, right? So 220?
Yeah.
Ooh, he's getting big. 50 years. 50 years.
We need to see like a 270.
170 plus
Draw Adam.
2 times 50.
We need to draw transformation.
So that gives me 100 here plus 170.
270.
270 pounds. Okay, we're going to stop there. We'll do a couple more tables tomorrow. All right, so we're going to pick up with example 2 here. Pay, represented by the letter P, is $8 an hour, represented by the letter H. So hours are going to be our independent variable. That's the one that we're going to work so many hours. So either work 2 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours, or 40 hours. That means letter P here. So what equation would you write for pay is 8 hours an hour? Like how would you figure out your pay?
8 times P was 8.
8 times what?
2.
In the first one times 2. But our formula is 8 times H, right? So 8 times 2, 16, 5 times 8, 8 times 8,
64.
40 times 8.
320.
Wow, he's so smart. He did 4 times 8 and then added a 0.
8 times 4 add a 0. Erica's so good.
You got it, Erica? All right.
That,
So-
your P looks like a question mark.
Oh, I thought that was a question.
Me too.
Erica's losing it today.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
All right, so now, example 3, we have a car salesman. He earns $10,000 a year and $200 for every car sold. So we're going to put S for his salary, his yearly salary. How much does he get paid? So he earns how much every year? He's going to get how much for sure?
10,000.
He's going to get $10,000 no matter what. If he sells 0 cars, he's going to get $10,000, right?
That's actually not bad.
Well, that's all. Sells 0 cars.
If he sells 1 car, how much more is he going to make?
200.
200. So we'd add 200, right? If you sold 1 car. If you sold 2 cars, you'd have to add another 200. 3 cars, another 200. 4 cars, another 200.
That's easy.
So instead of adding 200 every time, we can say 200 times the number of cars. So his salary is $10,000 plus $200 for every car he sells. Is that making sense, or are you going, how did
Can
you
you
get
do
that?
that? Can you just not good at writing the formulas out?
So if he sells 0 cars,
Yeah.
so you would plug in your numbers here. You would say, here, I'll zoom in here to make it. So you'd say 10,000 plus
0.
200 times 0, right? Because 0 cars. 200 times 0 is 0. So you'd end up with 10,000 plus 0, which is, he would make $10,000 if he sold 0 cars.
How do you write so small? Oh, it's way big. So he's like writing this
So you don't have to write all the stuff above. That's just how I'm getting that
Oh.
stuff there, okay? So 100. So in this one, you would have 10,000 plus 200 times 100. Because he sold 100 cars now.
So you just add 2 zeros.
So 10,000
1,200.
plus, and you're going to have a 2, and you're going to have 4 zeros.
It is.
So 10,000 plus 20,000 is
30,000. Oh.
30,000. And we continue on. I'm not going to write all of the math on all of these. So now you have 200 times 200 is,
60,000.
so we got 60,000. No, not 60,000. You guys are wrong.
40.
What?
You guys are wrong. It's not 60,000.
it's 40.
It's going to be 50,000 he's going to make.
Why? What?
No. Wait, yeah.
So he makes 10,000 plus
Oh.
200 times 200, which is 40,000
40,000.
plus my 10,000,
Oh.
which is, right? Because he's going to make it 10,000
Yeah.
no matter what. Okay. So now 350, you're going to do 200 times 350.
And when if it's 200, wouldn't be as twice as much as
What's the
100?
answer?
We would do our 10,000 plus 200 times 350. So 2 times 35 is
65,000.
Is 70, and then add 3 zeros plus my 10,000. Right? Because
80,000?
It's 80,050, right?
80,000.
Just 80,000.
So you'd have $80,000.
Wow, I'm rich.
So you got to sell a lot of cars to get $80,000.
Wealthy. Not broke.
This next part is a little trickier, but you guys can do it.
I already know the answer.
It's 0.
It's times 7.
So, you've done some of this in the past. Looking at this one, like you start with 0, and then x goes up by 1 each time, right? Goes to 1, then goes to 2, then goes to 3, then goes to, there's not a 4 there, it goes to 5, right? So every time x goes up by 1, what happens to the y value?
You add 7.
Yeah, you add 7
7.
every time, right? So when x goes up 1, y goes up
7.
7.
Oh, easy.
So how could we make a equation for that?
0 times 7, 1 times 7, 2 times
1
7,
times
Yeah.
7.
7, 5
Times 7. So your y equals
Y.
7 times x.
I'm not good at making equations.
Isn't that a formula?
Who is right?
It's a formula.
So a little help for you here. If y goes up by the same amount each time x goes up 1, the equation will have y equals that amount, so the amount it's going up, times x in it. So if y is going up the same amount every time, the x goes up 1. So for example, x went from 0 to 1, y went up 7. X went from 1 to 2, y went up 7. So your equation is going to have y equals a number times x, and it's how much it's going up as a number. So let's look at the next one here. This one, what do you notice about your x values?
Times.
What happens to your x values?
They get higher.
They get higher.
4 plus x. Y equals.
Well, stop. What do you notice about your x values in the table? Just looking at the x values. What do you notice about them? Do they go up by 1 every time, the x values? No, it goes 1, 3, 10, 18, right?
I don't see no pattern.
1, 3, 10, 18. So we got to think about this one a little differently. It's not what my little note above said. So it's not going to be x times something necessarily. Now you got to think about it and think, how do I go from this 1 here, this one, how do I get to 5?
Plus
I
4.
can add 4, right?
You can times.
I can also multiply by 5. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's try it with this one. If I add 4 to this, do I get 7?
Yes.
If I times 5, does it work?
No.
Doesn't work. How about this one?
Yes.
Plus 4 works? How about this one? Does plus 4 work?
Yes.
So y equals x plus 4.
Oh my word, I got it.
That was her.
Okay, let's do another one. They're getting trickier.
Plus 9.
So I've got plus 13.
Yes.
Does that work for the next one?
Yes.
You have a different one than me.
No. No.
Mine's 4,
We have
negative
4,
8. Negative 8.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Why?
I guess I gotta fix my other paper.
Or we fix ours. Yours is easier.
Okay, let's do yours. What's your first y value?
4.
Negative
Negative
8.
8. Not wrong side.
What's your next one?
Negative
Negative
10. Then negative 12. Then negative 20.
Is it divided by negative 2?
You have the right top.
Got it.
Okay. So, take the negative out of the equation for now. Look at multiplication. If you do 4 times something, can you get to 8?
Yes. 2.
5 times something times 2, can you get to 10?
Yes.
6 times 2, does that get you
Yes.
12? 10 times 2.
Yes.
So, how do I get a negative when I multiply two numbers together?
Yeah, negative on the 2s.
Yeah, so negative 2, negative 2, negative 2, negative 2. So, y equals negative 2
times.
x.
Oh yeah. And the next one's Austin.
I have different numbers for the next one too.
The top row right, but then 16, 22, 28, 40.
Top
No.
row, the top row is 3, 4, 7, 10.
What do you got? 3, 4, 7,
And then
10.
Yours is easier. Could we just do yours?
What do you got next?
1, 2, 5,
8.
1,
2,
2,
1, 800, call safe. 5.
5, 8. Thank you.
Why?
All right, let's do this one.
Minus x. No, x
How can you get from 3 to 1? We can do it 2 different ways.
minus 2.
I can subtract 2,
Yeah, it's minus 2.
3. I mean,
or I could divide by 3, right?
It's minus.
So minus 2. Does it work every time?
yes.
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 So y equals
Minus
X.
2.
X minus 2.
X minus 2, yeah.
x minus 2.